Hello students, Miss Lockhart here. You will see in front of you the materials we are going to need for this project. And I will also show you that we're going to need glue, but that's for next week. And you can also use a glue stick. Next week we'll glue down what we cut today. So we are going to be making a beautiful collage all about overlapping. And we're going to be using pine trees as our subject. So you will need pieces of paper that are different colors. You can choose your own color scheme. You can stick with green if you'd like. You can throw in some blue, or maybe you like pink trees or purple trees. It's up to you. Also, if you don't have construction paper at home, consider using some other different things you may have. Like you could use brown paper from a brown paper bag, like for the background. I'll be using black. You can use a brown paper bag for the background. And for your trees, if you don't have construction paper, you can just use white paper and do the same exact thing that I'll be showing you. But then you'll be coloring it what color you want your trees to be. So no construction paper, no problem. Just use white paper. And then for the background, you can use a brown paper bag. It'll look so cool, and then you'll get to color your trees. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to create these really fun symmetrical pine trees. And I will do that using a pencil with an eraser. And then I'll need my scissors today. So make sure you have some scissors handy. Now, if you're at home, make sure you get permission before you use your scissors, please. And also, I recommend you stay seated while you cut. That is my best bit of advice, so that way you don't even have to carry them. And if you have to carry them, make sure the point is facing down as you walk with your hand down by your side. Okay, so let's make some fun symmetrical trees. I'm gonna go ahead and just start with this piece of paper right here. Now I'm using some scrap paper because I like to use all my scraps and not waste any paper. So what you'll do is you're going to fold your paper in half. Okay, great. Now, go ahead and keep the folded side on the left. You know, when you put your hand out, you can use your pointer and your thumb to see which way is left. If you forget, that's left. So make sure the fold is on the left, okay? Grab your pencil, and here is the trick to make a tree. Okay, I like to start at the bottom. I like to make a line that goes out. Now this is gonna be the bottom of the tree, okay? So if you make it really wide, your tree will be very wide. So I like to make it about this long or even shorter. This is probably about 3 inches. Now I'm gonna put a dot at the top so I know where I'm gonna go. And then, here we go. Do a diagonal line from the top. And don't worry if you make a mistake because you won't see this pencil line. You do your diagonal and then you go in, diagonal. And look, it doesn't matter if it's messy because you're gonna cut around it and you won't even see it. Then go in and then go diagonal. Oops, I went past that a little bit. That's okay. So that is our goal. I will be showing you that again in just a moment. Okay, so before I cut, I want to show you how to do this step again, just in case you need a little more help. Now, as you can see, I have a piece of paper that was cut in half, which is actually quite helpful. So if you have a very large piece of paper, you can go ahead and cut it in half first, or you can make giant trees. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to fold this paper in half, just like I did before, and my fold is on the left. Now, I'll do the bottom line first. And remember, it's not too long. And I'm gonna put my dot up here. I'm gonna do a diagonal line, bring it in, diagonal, in, diagonal, in. And if you want, you can get even more out of that. So that is this. Those are the few steps to complete the side of your tree. Let's try again. Well, here's an even smaller paper, but what's fun is you can make small trees too. The goal is to make multiple trees, and then we're going to talk about how to overlap when we glue them down. So I'm going to make some small trees here So I have a smaller piece of paper and I folded it. I'm going to do the same thing. You might not be able to see this as well because it's dark paper. I'm going to do that line on the bottom, dot at the top, diagonal in, diagonal in, diagonal in, diagonal in. Okay, you can kind of see that in the reflection when the light shines on it. And again and again. Now I'm going to want this piece of paper for 2 trees. I'm going to make a small tree with a small piece and a very tall tree with this long piece. Let's do the tall one first. It's going to be so fun. So to do the tall one, you would need a very tall piece of paper. Or you can just fold it in half and the paper can be big, but just make your zigzag the way I do it now. So follow along if you want a tall, skinny tree for fun. You can use any size paper. You're gonna do the bottom, and you want the bottom to be quite wide, all the way to the edge here, if you can. And I think I can get it to be about this tall. Okay. So I have to make the top of the tree quite skinny and thin. It's a narrow little top there. Then I go in, down, diagonal, in, down, in, and diagonal down to the bottom. You'll see that'll be a very tall pine tree. And now I'll make a small one. So this is what you should be doing as well. You can cut your larger pieces of paper into smaller pieces so you can make different size trees. So you start with that line on the bottom. You can do a dot at the top, or you can just go for it. Diagonal line, go in, diagonal, in, diagonal, in, diagonal. Okay, see that? Now I have more paper here. Okay, so far I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I want more than that for sure. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna cut this paper a little bit so I can get multiple trees. I'll make some small ones with this guy, this little piece right here. See how I folded it right in half like that. And I'll draw my tree on that. Fun one. Okay. Line at the bottom. Diagonal in, diagonal in, diagonal. I'm going to use this bigger piece that I saved. The bigger piece here, I'm folding it in half and make a pretty large tree with this piece. Bottom, top, diagonal in, diagonal in, diagonal in, diagonal. All right, well that's a lot of trees for now. Let me go ahead and show you how to cut it. So, to make it symmetrical, we leave it folded when we cut so that when we open, it's the same on both sides. All right. Oh, I forgot one step. I'm so sorry. Before you cut the bottom, let me show you on another one. Before you cut this bottom line, let me show you a trick. We didn't draw this. I guess we could. But we're going to do a trunk. Okay? So right at the fold, you can draw a line that goes from the bottom here down. And then you'll cut up the trunk. Sometimes you don't have to draw the trunk if you just remember to cut right there at the fold. And look, I'm following my line. So this piece of paper I'm using just so happened to be thicker, so it's going to be a little harder to cut. Hopefully your paper is a little thinner. Do your best to follow your pencil lines. And if you mess up and go outside your pencil lines, that's okay. Even if you accidentally cut your tree off or cut the middle, down the middle, you can always glue it back together. And look at that, we have a pine tree. And it's symmetrical like a butterfly. It's the same on both sides. So now the fun is cutting the rest of your pine trees. And you'll end up saving them for next class. So take a look here. I'm cutting the trunk and then turning it. I like to turn my paper when I cut and leave my scissors comfortably in my hand. So check it out. This is a great position for my wrist and my hand. And then I put the paper where I want it. And then I chop. And then I turn my paper so I can do the straight line right there. Go up, turn my paper. It's a lot of turning the paper, huh? Not so much turning your wrist or your scissors, because you want it to be comfortable when you're cutting. Okay. That was a little harder to cut because that was my narrow tree. And then I'm going to open it up, and there it is, a symmetrical tree. Now, you'll be able to play with overlapping when you're done cutting. So you can even put the small tree in front of the big tree, or the big tree in front of the small tree. You'll have so many to play with. It'll be really fun. So I'm going to go ahead and continue cutting, as should you, if you still have time. And then we will save our trees for next time to glue. I recommend saving your trees inside of a folder or even inside your sketchbook. And that way you'll have some time to get your glue together. You need to get some glue. And if you need your background paper, you can find your background paper for next class too. I'm gonna love this little blue tree. Okay, so just gonna keep cutting. You can follow along or go ahead and cut at your own pace. Please be sure to do at least, I'm gonna say 5 trees. At least 5 trees so you get lots of fun practice overlapping, and you'll have so many trees to play with, to overlap with. So that's only 4. Now I'm gonna do another one, but I'm actually gonna use more than 5 trees. I have 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm gonna try to get more out of this scrap paper because I just want to use all of my paper. So I will challenge you to do as many trees as you can with the paper you have, but you really only need to do 5. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and I will show you how I continue to cut out my trees and save them for next week.